Hey everybody, welcome to Brick Vault. Today is another LEGO Top 10 MOCS of the Week episode where I show you the coolest custom creations I happen to see people building in LEGO bricks throughout this last week. Links to everybody I'm talking about and more are in the description below if you want to check out the designers and some of their other photo streams. The custom build that popped up in the web store for us this week comes from the designer Fukusaku, and this is Luke's land speeder. He has an excellent design for rounding out the front of the nose, and it really transfers over to the rest of the studless look on this little speeder, and it's just a pretty awesome construction. If you want to check out the video, that's also linked. I don't show any of these models necessarily in orders of best to worst, just a bunch of builds that I liked. And let's start off with some honorable mentions. Alex Jones has the digital design of this mask volcano. It's based on an 80s toy where the van actually splits in the center. Love the perspective here from Jelly Eater. This is the Mangal Gongsa Temple. Inez Vasquez has a pride bouquet. I'm liking that more and more people are doing larger flower builds. And here's a great micro design from Carter Witz, the Jungle Temple. Mountain Hobbit has a Gandalf bobblehead. I wonder if the head actually does bobble. I've seen designs for that in the past. Personally, my favorite bit of detailing is the pieces used for his fingers. Roger. Now let's move on to Gabor Poller. This is a prop fan engine 45 stud in diameter digital design. Great LEGO models and engineering go hand in hand, and this is pretty much a perfect example. Very clean planetary patrol spaceships from Noblebun. Josta Brick has a small diorama. The interim maintenance makes sense. You never really see barnacles on these structures, so yeah, there's probably a pretty involved cleaning crew. Joffrey Bricks has an Ava 2, very small but highly detailed version of this model. And then there have been some really fun competitive builds using the Sand Blue 2x4 spoiler with bar handle. This is Every Builder Needs a Garage from Henjin Quilonis. He also built the Lego Lex, not the Rolex, and you can see the spoilers being used for the wristband. Grant Davis integrated the spoilers for the stairs. They're actually attached with minifigure hands. They're just resting there. Here's another one from Grant Davis. Spot the spoiler. Okay, let's jump into top 10. Number 1 is from Revan. This is the Pirate Tavern. It's an incredibly intricate build. Every inch of this seems to have a bit of extra detail thrown in there. There's a lot of slightly offset angles. It doesn't look like this structure was built to any type of code, but it makes this whole area feel a bit more lifelike, and in general we're looking at angles that you don't necessarily see from standardized LEGO builds. Sylon-tw built this Skyracer Part 2. There are some awesome colors here. Just in general, I love the way the red really pops against this teal. Maybe that's medium azure. I'm not totally sure the color name of that, but there's just some great eye-catching areas of the model. The intakes on either side of the engine work super well with those window pieces, and even the orc blades, or maybe those are urukai blades that are used for the propellers, just help show that nice little motion that you could have for the swinging blades. Here's an extremely well put together diorama from Joe or J&J Bricks. This is titled Journey Home. It looks like a warrior is coming, I guess, back home, back to his estate. And the season seems to be pretty much perfect. Springtime, everything's blooming. You've got cherry blossoms. You've just got all types of flowers coming to life, and the bright colors of nature pop quite well against the white and gold and dark red of the main house. Brickgrayson is up next with their Cyberpunk Arcade. It looks to be a digital design. Unsure if all of these colors could be built in this type of quantity or these particular shapes, but there are so many cool little designs, wonderful builds for letters and artwork all over the outside of this. And there's just a great aesthetic from the exterior, something that if it were to integrate somehow into a LEGO city could easily be the most eye-catching, colorful thing in the entire area. It also matches up really well with his Cyberpunk sushi bar, which has a very similar color palette, and I wouldn't mind seeing more awesome buildings like this with a similar theme. This is number 6 in our lineup from Ivan Martynov. We have Captain Hook. Feels like the more cartoonified version of the character. That gigantic nose is certainly an expressive form on the face. I love the build for the hat. It's a great intricate bit of detailing that actually makes up the body and coat as you move down from the waist to the legs. And I mean, this guy's got a hook. I mean, this is a real hook for Captain Hook. This is something that you certainly wouldn't want to be pierced by or caught from. on the other side. Here's one of 2 Star Wars themed builds for this week from Miguel. This is the turtle side, and it seems to be a smaller Carillion style freighter, but built in a much more realistic way than, let's say, the Millennium Falcon. And I say this because the cockpit is in the center of the ship, and I encourage you to try and imagine what it would be like to bank the Millennium Falcon through a canyon, having the cockpit on one side of a giant disc. Physically, that makes no sense, but this actually seems like a ship that is a bit more flyable, I think, and still holds on to a lot of those fun aesthetics that you love from the original freighter, the Millennium Falcon. There really are some excellent details as you work your way around the entire ship here, but let's move on to something a little bit smaller and more intimate from Forlorn Empire. The title is simply Strategy, and it looks like perhaps Roman generals are looking at a war map and trying to figure out their next move in a campaign. It's a pretty great technique for the arch pieces. Those are those sliding doors that are attached triangular, like 3 at a time, to make up the columns. The offset 2x2 tiles that leave those slight gaps between them is so nice, and the table itself is actually a wooden door when you look closer. And from that building competition with the sand blue spoiler, this is my personal favorite from the bunch from Grant Davis. This is titled Tortoise-Back, and the sand blue really helps a lot when offsetting the rest of the colors in this particular model. The tortoise itself feels very real and organic with a wonderfully round shell. I like that none of the supplies are really locked in place like on a grid scale. There's not many right angles in this model in general, and the atmosphere is both fun and playful and a little silly, with the tortoise actually following the apple on a stick and a string in the front. Now, number 2 is an incredibly impressive large-scale model from Liddy, who has a pretty long track record of making extremely epic models. This is no different. The title is Spider-Man, What Now? And it seems to be Comic 001. The artwork resembles that of the front page cover work of an actual comic book. I don't know if this is based on a very specific one or if this is just kind of creative liberty. I think it's creative liberty, but what we have is an amazing build for Rhino, who's punching his way out in the front. Spider-Man seems to be holding on, trying to subdue him in some way. And forgive me if there's like other characters that I'm not understanding who they are. There's a mouse here or a cat, not sure, and it looks like a bag of groceries that is not having the greatest time on the other side of the build, with the milk carton flying out. I can see carrots, a bottle of something. Great build lettering for the title at the top, and I love the gradation between the 2x2 round tiles that work their way into the regular studs for Spider-Man. Such awesome details the closer and closer you look. This is really like the big impressive model, I would say, in terms of real size and detail. And then moving on to the last one, I'm sure you guys would like this. This is definitely something that we would love to have next to our, or maybe in the center of our lightsaber collection in the studio. This is from Marcin Otreba, and we have General Grievous's head. So Lego's been playing around with those helmet builds, or the busts, sort of. This absolutely takes the cake in terms of just accurate details and truly lifelike features, which almost seems like a contradiction considering Grievous has almost no organic materials to him, aside from the fact that he's still got eyes and like a few working organs. The eyes look lifelike. I mean, pretty close, with Lego bricks. And I think part of that is due to the fact that the rest of his head is pretty much robotic. And so when you're forced to look at the weird fleshy area for the sunken in eyes, it truly does contrast with the more cold and smooth exterior. The proportions are excellent. The rounded detail for the slopes that arcs all the way around the top into the back of the head is such a clean look. And if Lego decided now that they wanted to make a General Grievous head as one of their helmet projects, I don't know if they'd be able to knock out the lifelike features quite the same way that Marcin was able to do. Anyways, those are my 10 favorite builds of the week. I've left links to everybody in the description below. Let me know which ones were your favorites. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoy our content, you can always like, subscribe, comment, share, and we'll see you next time at Brick Vault.